Welcome to the Not Just Waiting podcast. I'm your host, Rihanna Hoffman, and this is a space for women learning to wait well and live fully. Whether you're in the middle of uncertainty, transition, or just figuring out what's next, this podcast is here to remind you you are not behind, not forgotten, and definitely not just waiting. Let's dig into truth, grow in courage, and hold on to hope together. Hey friends, welcome back to the Not Just Waiting podcast. Today, I get to sit down with Emily Vermillion, a certified life and business coach, podcast host, and the founder of the Bold Life Collective, a faith-based community equipping Christian moms to build purpose-driven businesses without sacrificing what matters most. With an MBA, a background in real estate and digital entrepreneurship, and a deep heart for ministry, Emily has this incredible way of blending practical strategy with biblical truth. She's passionate about helping women step into their God-given calling with both clarity and confidence. Outside of her work, Emily is married to her high school sweetheart. She's a mom of 3, and she loves organic living, a strong coffee, and honest conversations about faith, motherhood, and what it looks like to live a purposeful life in a distracted world. I know you'll be encouraged by her story and her wisdom, so let's get into it. Hey friends, welcome back to the Not Just Waiting podcast. I have a Substack buddy. I love finding new people on Substack and networking. My friend Emily is so cool and I love her content, and I just randomly was like, hey, I have this podcast. Would you like to be on it? And she graciously said yes, and she's amazing, and you really should be following her content if you haven't. I'll link all of it in the show notes. So if you need to pause right now and be like, what is Rihanna talking about? Go click on our Substack and all of our other stuff so that you can get in on what is going on. So Emily, thank you for being here.
Yay!
You're
I'm so
amazing.
excited to be here.
Thank you for your flexibility, because life is life and hardcore.
That's
So
right.
can you tell us a little bit about I keep wanting to call it a coaching cohort. That's not what it is. The Bold Life Accelerator program that you're launching this month. Can you tell us a little bit more about
Yes!
it?
So I have been so excited. It's honestly been a kind of combo thing that I've been just praying over for probably 2 to 3 years, just trying to wrestle with God, wrestle with myself on what to do, how to offer it. Essentially, I am a Christian life and business coach. And so I decided to open up a space where other Christian women specifically are just looking to launch their dream, whether that's a ministry, whether that's a business, whatever God has been calling you to, and you've kind of been ruminating over, or maybe you've already started it and you're kind of in a place of stuck. So I have a journey that we'll talk about in the show. And I've just had a lot of different experience. And so I thought, well, what better way to leverage my time well, because I have 3 small kids, than to have a basically entrepreneurship community group. So we're going to be having coaching calls every week, different types of modules for you guys to go through to really marry your sweet spot with your calling, where you're at in the season in life, and where you're wanting and hoping to get to. And we're going to work it out together. And I just am so excited, because when you are in a community, it tends to help you have more accountability and more momentum. And that creates that lasting motivation so you can hopefully get to where you're wanting to go. And if not, at least you're among others who are trying to work on something, and you're going to get something out of that, definitely, for sure.
Absolutely. That's one of the things I love about community is we get to build together instead of
Exactly.
having to try and figure it out on our own, and it's just us and Google. And sometimes that's a
Yes.
dangerous spot to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome, awesome. So, Emily, we're going to dive right in if that's okay with you.
I would love
Can
it.
you tell us how you make space for rest, for creativity, for time with God in your daily life? I mean, you're running all kinds of crazy things and you have kiddos. So, how do you make
Yes,
space?
I know. Well, see, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm an expert. My season of managing all of this has ebbed and flowed with whatever chaos is going on at that moment in my life. But I've just realized I had to know that there's never going to be a perfect time. So you have to just go with progress and not perfection. And as a type A perfectionist, that's been a hard challenge for me on this road. But what I found is that God is working more than whatever capacity we could give, is what I'm trying to say. So I tried to do different things like setting good boundaries. So I have blocked off time where I literally do not work past that time. It's not going to happen, so that I can have that personal reset time. And then I like to do, and this, I'm not creating this term, but it's called habit stacking. And I can't
Mhm.
remember who wrote about it in one of those productivity books, but essentially it's where you're marrying 2 different activities that one activity that you have to do with one activity that you want to do. So, for instance, I have a toddler who still takes a nap, and I know at his nap time, that's when I get my reading done. So, for my coaching and for my content creation stuff, I've got to consume so that I can have something to create with. And so, reading's important to my job. And so, I know when he goes down for his nap, I have 45 minutes to an hour and a half to read. So, whatever it is that you do, like some people brush their teeth in the morning, I hope you do. And so, one thing I've seen myself do and others, turn on worship music, and that's like your time of worship for the morning, or listen to a sermon, a podcast while you're brushing your teeth or putting your makeup on, getting ready. Like that kind of quote unquote kills two birds with one stone. So, I found that as a mom of three, if working and having a husband and a house and all this, I've kind of had to fit all that in the margins of my day. So, spending time with God becomes saying prayers in the morning on the way to school with the kids, and that's like our devotional time. You're just creating pockets that are going to work with the rhythm and the normal routine of your life. But you do have to be intentional, because I've been in seasons where I go to bed and I'm like, I don't even think I prayed today, because if it's not intentional, you're going to kind of set it and forget it. If it's out of sight, it's out of mind. And so I've just really tried to create areas where, like at home, my Bible is always sitting in the chair that I sit in. It's like my spot. So I know when I'm sitting there, I've got that stack of books to read if I have time, if it's nap time and the like. So just trying to work in where you can and being intentional about making sure you're incorporating those important things, spending time with God, prayer, worshiping in your normal everyday life. I mean, folding clothes can be an act of worship, because I don't know, by the time I'm folding all the clothes I have to fold, my patience is worn thin. So I say a lot of prayers for patience then. So you can really combine many things in your daily life to be acts of worship too.
That's awesome. I love the practicality of what you just taught us. I have a question. So, how did you
Yes.
finally get progress over perfection? Because I know as small people and college students and young adults, we're like, it has to be perfect. It has to be perfect. How did you move
Yes.
from it has to be perfect to progress is just, that's the win for today?
Well, essentially this kind of seems simple, but I had several years of setting the same goals, like the same business goals, the same New Year's resolutions. And they say that the definition of sanity is trying to do the same thing over and over again and never changing. So, what I found is that I was the type of person who I kind of had self identified having like imposter syndrome. So, I always felt like I needed to know more before I could try that or share that or try to teach a class on it, like with my coaching business, things like that. So I would get stuck in just research mode or analysis paralysis mode. And so what I found was, if I actually want to have see the goals come and the dreams come and the harvest come, you have to take steps in faith. And faith means you don't always know the outcome. So a perfectionist is trying to manage the outcome. A perfectionist is trying to plan for the outcome, execute all the way through, and have that exact thing happen. But we know that life is not like that. And I don't know about y'all, but curveballs, chaos, health scares, you name it. I mean, life comes. And so I just realized time was inking by. And when you have kids, I think the reference for time is like exploded, because it just goes so quickly. And I just was like, if I'm going to do it, I have to do it now. Like, if I'm going to put it off till the kids are a little bit older or have a little bit more free time to do this, it will never happen, because life is always going to happen. So it was kind of just a proclamation. I had a couple years where everything was stale. Even like my podcast was stale. I just wasn't having good growth. And I just found that it's because I was gripping my plans and not allowing there to be margin for God to work. And so that's when I realized, like, I'm not a perfectionist. God's a perfectionist. And so I have to like switch this role. I can't be God and create everything and plan for everything. God has to do his role, and I have to just step in faith, and faith is, not knowing exactly what the outcome will be.
Absolutely. That was
Yeah.
good. I wish I had brought my yes button to our impromptu podcast.
Well, it's been a journey. I'm still working on that, by the way. I'm not perfect at it.
So, when did you first realize you had your gift or your calling, whatever you want to call it? And then what helped you take it seriously?
Well, this is definitely a journey of mine. I want to say, I really feel like I went through an early life crisis, not a midlife crisis. So I kind of always I'm the oldest in my family. I'm the oldest out of all my cousins. So I've kind of always had this more like leadership type of role because I was put into that role, helping with my siblings, helping with my cousins. It's kind of always just been innate for me to be an encourager too. Like I just love encouraging people. I love helping people see the possibility and kind of figure out a solution to their problem. That's just kind of how God made me. And I've always been like that. But I had no idea how that was going to translate into the real world. And I always knew I wanted to help people for the longest time. I thought it was to become a doctor. And then when I got up to that level of schooling, I was just like, it didn't sit right. I didn't want to go to school for that long. I knew that I wanted children and just the concept of how I wanted to live my life, residency, all of that. I was like, nope, not for me. So I switched gears and I did actually get a business degree in healthcare management. So when I got out of school, I had this corporate job that I had prayed for specifically. I remember going to the interview. I came home and it was perfect. It was totally in alignment with my job, or with my degree, I should say. And I remember asking God, God, give me this job. It wasn't like, God, do you think this is a good job? If it's your will, Lord, let it be. No, I said, God, I want this job. It fits perfect. Please, I want this job. Like I just said, give it to me, please. I got the job. And let me tell you, from the day I got that job, I felt like a fish out of water. And I just graduated undergrad. I was engaged, about to get married and going to grad school at night. So I was busy, but every day I just felt like a fish out of water. I hated that job. It sucked the soul out of me. My eyes were open, and I remember just about 3 months in, just praying to God, God, I should have never asked for this job. You've taught me the lesson. I get it. I don't ask for what I want. I ask for what you want. It was a good lesson. It was a hard lesson because at this point, by the time 4 months into that job, I'd gotten married. And so we had our own home, our own bills, our own life to set up. And I remember coming home one day and telling my husband, I have to quit my job. And he was like, deer in the headlights. But I just knew God was going to take care of it. And I will say it wasn't something I just instantly did without a plan. I suffered through for a little bit while longer, and all the while praying to God. And I remember one night God said, start writing. And I'd always loved writing. So this was back when blogs were kind of a thing still. So I started a blog. And hence from that point, things just unraveled, me realizing like coaching's a thing and I could get certified in that. So I did that. And then eventually God led me to be able to quit that job. And I've just been on this entrepreneurship journey for like 10 years now. And it's been a journey, but I would say it's been a layered process. God just revealing to me. And my only advice is if you're in a season of just constant friction, that's what you need to kind of look to. If you're in constant friction, things are going to be challenging for us, but they should not feel like they're going against your soul. They're going against everything you value. They're going against everything you've known. I think that's where we realize like this is not in alignment with God. God doesn't want us to live out our days being suffocated, confused, flip-flopping around like a fish. He wants us to be able to thrive and so that we can serve him better. Just it's been a long journey. Nothing one thing in particular. It's just seeds throughout my life I just noticed about things, and it just worked out in a weird little squirrely road.
That's awesome. I love that. I have definitely been in seasons when I'm like, Lord, I would like this job. And he gives it
Yes,
to me, and I'm like, why did I ask for this
I
position?
hate this.
This was not a good choice. So I love that you said staying in alignment because there is a
Yeah,
tension when you're doing something you want that doesn't necessarily follow his will.
exactly. Exactly.
And it's such a hard place to be because when you're there, you're like, I thought I was doing what you asked me to do, but then you realize you didn't ask to begin with. You just kind of told him what you were
Exactly.
doing. And he's
Exactly.
standing over there laughing, kind of like when small people are like, I do this. And you're like, okay,
Mhm.
you do that. And it's
Yeah.
something silly. And they're like, wait, that's not what I
Not
wanted.
a good idea. Exactly. And that's how I felt. I think it just was very eye-opening for me because I'd spent all this money going to college. I'd, spent all this time, thought specifically that this was what I was going to do and just had it totally envisioned. And I'm thankful that it happened early. I'm thankful that I didn't have to like waste 10 years of my life there and I was able to pivot, but that was an interesting thing, and I don't take it for granted because I learned so much about myself in that almost year-long process of being in that job. It was crazy.
Oh my
Yes.
goodness. So, what has God taught you through this experience about managing your platform and your influence with open hands? I mean, you just told us about a job you wanted. And didn't
Mhm.
like, and you're like, "Okay, I don't know what to do now." So
Exactly.
how do we manage what God has given us with open hands?
Right. I think one of the biggest things for me is really researching and studying stewardship, because stewardship is spoken so much through scripture. And it's really taking what you have in the season that you're in and managing it well, right? We all know the story of the talents and the prodigal son and just all the different people in scripture who had a very difficult hand dealt. Story of Job. I mean, there's so many, and how their faith prevailed and how that differs from just ownership. So for me, I've already told y'all I'm kind of type A. I'm very goal oriented. I just want to see, do, and execute. But I knew that this was something I had to hand over to God, because it is very easy in this world to measure ourselves against the metrics of the world: money, dollar bills, how much you got, how many followers you have, how many subscribers, downloads, you name it. If you're in the online space, or even if you're not in the online space, like if you drive this car, you have this house, or whatever it might be, those are the metrics our society deems as superior or better. And what we find in scripture is, like, the most lowly person has eternity in heaven. They have the greatest treasures. And I think that for me, it was, seeing like I was, there was a season where I was so focused because I had my own coaches. I believe in coaching because I am a coach. And so I had my own coaches, and they're very making you accountable to things. And so you see a number and you want that number. It would be like there would be months where that didn't grow, or I wouldn't get a new coaching client or whatever. And it just became where I was so drained doing something that felt like like I was called to pursue, but it just felt like you're just hitting yourself, you're just hitting a wall and can't break past it. And I just remember surrendering that to God. I was like, God, I don't even know if you want me to do any of this anymore. And I'm willing to lay it all down. Like, I don't have to do this anymore. I don't have to produce the podcast anymore. I don't have to chase any of this. I'm fine laying it down. And I really felt that way because at the time I just had my third child and everything felt like too much to manage. I was very burnt out. And I just remember God speaking to me, and he said, your job is obedience. My job is the outcome. And that just really opened up a lot for me, because I just realized, like, yeah, it doesn't matter what I do. The outcome lies in God's hands. And so I could do my podcast once a month or twice every single week. The outcome's going to be the outcome. So I need to listen to him and be in alignment with what he's calling me to do. And it's very clear when you are feeling like when you're not in alignment, things just feel like such a burden. And they also feel like not something that you want to do even. And so I think you just have to have a good inventory of yourself and what you do value, and see how those values are actually living out your day-to-day life. And so when I realized, like, I was skimping on time with my kids, or I was, getting impatient, those are things that I don't value. I want to be a good mom first. And so I had to figure out, it's time to reevaluate what I need to be focused on, and just knowing, like, whatever effort I put in, God can multiply that in whatever way he wants.
Yes. Random. Do you have any tips on walking in obedience instead of, not?
Right. Well, this is something that I love to talk about, because I feel like it is something that has been such a challenge for me because I do want to micromanage things. And I don't know if that just stems from my upbringing. My parents were both entrepreneurs. It's chaotic being your own business owner and relying on yourself for everything. And so I just saw a lot of different things. So for me, just having stability is always so important. And I think that's part of what stems from the micromanaging. And so for me, making sure that I am walking in obedience means that I am daily opening my hands to the Lord and saying, please, God, use today in the way that you see fit. Because I have, like, don't worry, I've got a to-do list. I write it down every day, but sometimes that doesn't work. And I have to be okay with that. So for me, I think your obedience is really a mindset. Like, that's where it starts, because you could have the best laid plans, you could have the best routines and all this stuff. But if your mindset is still focusing on what your desires are, your ambitions, God has no margin to work in that. So it's really been trying to conquer my mindset of laying it down and just picking up my cross for God that day, and being in tune to what I've got in front of me, because God's going to put things in front of you you weren't expecting for the day. So how can we, in act of worship, reflect what with our intentions, with our emotions and all of that, how can we reflect God for the day? And I just try to really focus on that simple thing.
Yeah, that's like really good because obedience, a lot of times I think we take like what the Lord tells us and we make it really, really, really big. It's like,
Mhm.
Lord, but we have to do this and then this and then this and then this, and then we can do what you asked us to do. And
Yes,
you saying taking those tiny steps of obedience, we're all he's asking is for us to take the one next step, not the seven
exactly.
steps, just the one
Exactly.
next one.
That's exactly right.
That's very good. Thank you for sharing that with us. So, we've talked about rest. We've talked
Mhm.
about how we use our platforms with open hands. We've talked about obedience. How can we talk about waiting in this season? And on the podcast, we talk about actively waiting a lot.
Mhm.
Most of the time, we like to passively wait, which is Rihanna's version of sitting on the couch watching Netflix and eating cookies.
I've
That
done
would be
that too
my
many a
my
time.
dream of passively waiting, but we talk a lot about actively waiting. So, how are you waiting well in this season? Because we're all waiting on something.
We are. And I love this question because it's very easy when you are trying to reach goals to that's your orientation. And so when you're not seeing enough progress, it starts to really impact your mindset, the way that you relate to God, all those things start to question Him, question our abilities. And I've been in those seasons. Recently, I have decided to like let go of some projects that I was working on in tandem with everything I was doing. And it's stuff that I really wanted to produce and create and put out in the world. And honestly, I just could not bring myself to do it. And I remember one night I was just praying. I was like, why does this feel so hard? And I don't know why this feels so hard because I thought that this was what I needed to do. And I just felt very convicted in my heart that God was telling me to simplify, 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 simplify. And for me, I'm very multi-passionate and maybe your listeners are and maybe you are too. I like to try to do a lot of different things at one time, but you can't do it that. And I think a lot of people hear those story of the Proverbs 31 woman and they think, oh my gosh, women can do it all. They can have it all. They can be it all. But what they fail to realize is like she was stewarding, to use that word well, stewarding well what was right in front of her. She was in a different season for every one of those times that she had a multiplication. Every time she had a good harvest, every time a compliment was made about her, she was in that season and she was just stewarding well what was put in front of her. She was not doing it all at the same time. So I think in our world, we're like in this whole hustle culture where you got to have it all, you got to be working on all the things, but God values rest. I mean, rest is part of our life. Sometimes I hear that I've heard this before said a lot of people are always waiting for the next big thing, but like having nothing going on is such a gift because there's going to be another season where something not so great's happening, or maybe the great thing that you wanted so bad does happen, but it is way bigger. It takes way more energy, way more time. Living in the simple, mundane part of your life, that is living. That's a big deal. And so being able to wait and understand that this season is a season of preparation. And I think that's how I've kind of reoriented it in my mind because, like King David, Joseph in scripture, I mean, they had these big visions. David knew he was going to be a king. Joseph knew he was going to rule over his brothers, but that didn't happen the next day.
Hey, friends, if you've been encouraged by the Not Just Waiting podcast, I've got something special for you. We've designed a brand new t shirt that speaks right to the heart of our community. On the front, it says Loved, Seen, Becoming. 3 words that remind us who we are in Christ, right in the middle of whatever season we're walking through. It's more than a shirt, it's a declaration of truth you can carry with you and share with the world. Whether you wear it to Bible study, coffee with a friend, or just around the house, this tee is a simple way to encourage yourself and spark meaningful conversations. You can grab yours today by heading to the show notes and clicking the link, or you can search the Loved, Seen, Becoming t-shirt on Etsy. Let's wear our reminder together. You are loved, you are seen, and you are becoming who God made you to be.
I think I just want to encourage anyone, like, no matter what season you're in life, no matter what you're focusing on, your goals, make sure that you have that margin built into your life to do the things that you value. And a lot of people think, oh, well, I value trustworthiness. I value, loyalty. I value different things, but your values also are what you spend time doing. They say when you look at a person's bank account, you can tell what they prioritize. So, one thing I love to help people with is looking at your day, really seeing where all your time is spent, and really measuring that against what you want your life to look like and what you do value. Do you value spending time with your friends? Do you value spending time with the Lord? And where is that? And if there's gaps in that, if it's not there, do what you can to set healthy boundaries and be intentional with habit stacking, like I mentioned earlier, are literally cutting times off for things so that you have open time in your day to pour into the things that you value. When you do that, you will see a radical change in your heart, your life, your joy to wake up in the morning. And to me, we only have today, and we don't know how much time we have. We can't buy more of it. So let's just live with as little regret as we can and focused on serving God and stewarding well what He's put before us.
Absolutely. Thank you for encouraging us with that. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Friends, if you want to get connected with Emily, I am going to leave her Substack in the show notes. You're like, Rihanna, you talk about Substack all the time. But for real, you need to click it.
We
Her
love that.
We love Substack. It's amazing. But this is how you not only connect with her writing, you can get involved with her coaching as well. So this
Mhm.
is kind of your one-stop shop instead of me sending you to like her website, her Instagram, or Substack, and then you have to click one of them. No, no. Go to Substack. It's all there because I've
Yeah.
connected with it. Trust me, I know it's there. So
Mhm.
be sure to thank her when you're over on Substack and you subscribe. You can DM her, which means direct messaging for our friends that don't know what DM means because I'm
Yes.
not going to call you old, but maybe. And so make sure you say thank you to Emily for joining us. This has been so fun. Thank you for popping on and sharing your wisdom and insight with us. You're amazing. Thank you. Thank you.
And I've loved it so much, Rihanna. I'm so excited that we got to connect and look forward to connecting more with you.
Amazing. This is going to be so fun. I can't wait. So, friends, make sure you go subscribe to Emily, and we will see you next week. Bye, friends. Thanks for listening to the Not Just Waiting podcast. I hope today reminded you that even in the in between, God is working, and you are not alone. If this episode encouraged you, would you share it with a friend? And don't forget to hit follow so you never miss a moment of truth, hope, and real conversation. You can find me on Instagram at rihanna.ivy.hoff and join the community over on Substack for deeper reflections and weekly encouragement. Until next time, take heart, friend. God is in the waiting with you.